right. Well, aloha kakahiaka, everyone. I'm Peter Kay, and today is February 4th, 2022. And you are part of the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. Welcome. And we actually have some early starters over here. Let's first get into my friends over here. I'm with Dylan Nonaka, who's visiting. Dylan Nonaka, who's on the Big Island, visiting us virtually. Dylan Onaka, who's on the Big Island, and Scott Startsman, who's on Oahu. Welcome, guys. We got some early risers. Jim Stevenson has once again reclaimed his spot as the first guy on the show. Jim, God bless you. Not 15 minutes prior, he kind of put this one in here. Aloha Friday, terrible weather here on the mainland. Sorry to hear that. I'm not going to tell you, Jim, I'm not going to tell you that today's an absolutely drop dead gorgeous day in Hawaii, but I'm not going to say anything. I wouldn't say anything like that. Christopher is with us. Welcome back, Christopher Longley. Aloha kakahiaka. Everyone's getting, can I take credit for starting a little trend of the Aloha kakahiaka trend? I mean, not that I've invented the phrase by any means. Anyway, hey, Scott, let's go counterclockwise. Scott, give us the update on Oahu. What's the background is stunning, Scott. It's a perfect site. It's a perfect background.
Yeah, I don't think there's a cloud in the sky today. I mean, it's literally, well, I guess I can be the one to say it's perfect weather out here. You don't have to say it. But it's one of those days. I mean, I went for a run around the park earlier and to go work out down at the pull-up station, and the air was cool, but there's not a cloud in the sky. It's like perfect weather. You look up on the Ko'olaus, you can see all, the entire mountain range, all the ridges going up and whatnot. It's stunningly beautiful, and the temperature is perfect. You still got a little bit of cool air, so it's not overly hot, but yet the sun's out. It feels good on the skin. You feel nice and warm on the skin from the sun.
Well said, Scott. And I hope you all, if you got your sound turned up or if your sound is good, I hope you're all hearing the doves in the background. I've got them. It's kind of funny, Scott, because they're tweeting it at my house, and I'm hearing them on your house, and I'm hearing it at mine, and I don't know who's who over here. Before we go to Dylan, I want to say hello to everybody else who's joining us over here. Auntie Joyce is back. Aloha to all. Welcome back, Auntie Joyce. Love that you're here. Patrick, all the regulars are kind of all showing. Hey, Patrick, how's it? Good to see you, buddy. But Patrick gave us a quick weather report. That's what it's like right now in Raleigh, North Carolina. Scott, isn't that like near your stomping grounds or something like that, right? Aren't you near that area?
Yeah, I grew up in Charlotte, and then I went to school in the mountains in North Carolina. My parents are in Winston-Salem. I got friends in Raleigh, so I got a whole bunch of people back there.
That's what I thought. And Jim, where's Heidi? We don't know. I think Heidi. I think she's having some technical difficulties. We hope that Heidi's going to be here, and we can't wait to bring her back into the fold. I'm sure she'll be here. She's not left permanently or anything like that. Mark Weichel. Mark, welcome back. Mark, good to see you, buddy. Mark is an Islander Ohana alumni. Great to see Mark. And Bernard, welcome back. Bernard's back. Welcome back. Hello, Scott. Yep, Scott is. I'm glad to see you guys have connected. Corey, aloha. It's Friday. It is Friday, man. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF takes on a whole other meeting in Hawaii. Dylan, I'm sorry. Hold on, Dylan. We're going to get 70 degrees. Patrick, if it's 70 degrees, it's time to, wash the car and, go out in shorts and you're all set, right? Hello from freezing Minnesota, Marco Margilis. Man, Minnesota, you're second to Chicago. Just kidding. You're colder than Chicago over there. Aloha from Portland. 13 days until we arrive permanently. Awesome, Jan. That's fabulous. Good. Congratulations. All right, that's the quick lineup. Dylan, give us the update. Like the shirt, dude. You got like new digs there. What's the new background? What's going on over there, Dylan?
This is my office studio. Usually I'm at home, and so it's similar but different. So yeah, I'm at the office today. I had some stuff to do in town, so figured we shoot the show from town today. And yeah, this is a Manohe Ali'i, so another local designer, and I like this one because it's like, I don't even know what the difference in materials are, but I know that this one, when you dry it, you don't have to iron it. It just comes out perfect, ready to wear. So that's important to me. So
that is my criteria. That is my criteria right there, Dylan.
Yes.
Is that anything my new requirement is it has to come out of the dryer, and I got to be able to hang it up and then use it.
Yep.
If I got to iron the darn thing, forget it. I am not doing it. Not doing it. Dylan, it's looking good, and the mic is sounding great too, by the way. Let's see who else came in here. Ray jumped in. Hey, Ray, welcome back, Ray. Aloha from Washington State. Ray, we're really happy that you are here with us. Let's see. So normally, well, it's 10 o'clock. Let's rock and roll. Normally, we would ask Heidi about her coffee, but Patrick is digging the shirt. Right, Patrick. It's kind of a cool. Let's zoom in over. It's kind of a cool shirt. I kind of like that pattern. What is that? Some kind of a fern design? What is that?
I
Dylan?
think so. I think so. I don't know exactly. Again, my wife buys these, so I can take no credit for the selection.
That's
I
right.
just pull them out the closet and wear them. So
That's right. You just say, thank you, dear. Thank you for the shirt that you ordered from me. I'll put it on and tell me what you think of it. And then that's all you do. Daniel's back with us. Aloha, Daniel. Welcome. Aloha, Daniel. And Val, happy Aloha Friday with the Shaka. Absolutely awesome on Aloha Friday. Look at that. I got to show once again, Scott, thank you, Scott, for giving us this live background right behind you. You know what's cool about your shot is that you got that nice blue in the upper right-hand side of the screen here, which is catching the nice blue, the blue piece. So that's kind of cool.
Not a lick of wind blowing either. I mean, those palm trees are about as still as can be. And surf's up on the South Shore. There's a swell that just bumped in that's like 3 foot local, so it should be about almost head high today.
Oh
Should be
man,
fun.
that is a winning combo, man. Light winds on the South Shore. That's glassy. Auntie Joyce says the shirt matches the background perfectly. Right, that's what I was thinking. Right, Auntie Joyce is like it's just like Dylan. It's as if you planned it. It's almost like you thought that through actually before you showed up. And of course, God bless you, but we know that you didn't.
I did not. Yes.
And Scott is Daniel's asking if that's a Ren Spooner. I don't know, is that the
Yep.
Ren? You Daniel.
I probably got 35 Ren Spooners. That's about all I've ever bought. So
That's it, man. Ren's the one. And Auntie Joyce agrees. Scott's got a good shirt on. Also, credit where credit is due. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Auntie Joyce, for that great comment. Absolutely. All right. I think it's time. Let's get into our news here, and then hopefully, Heidi, if you're watching, you could join in. But hopefully Heidi's going to join us. But let us move on. We're going to hit some news over here real quick. Quick updates. Let's kind of get into a. How about if we try? No, let's do it this way. Okay. So, by the way, I forgot to mention this at our last show, but I am no longer posting COVID numbers. I think we're done. As far as I am declaring here. Let me put so you can all see me say this. I'm officially declaring COVID is over. I'm not posting any more figures. I'm not posting any more COVID statistics. It's over. It's going to be coming. It's going. I'm declaring this. I am declaring it the endemic. It's going to be with us for the rest of our lives, and we're done with it. And that's that. So we're not going to post any more numbers. But there was some. So for those of you that love whale watching, I know this was for you, Heidi, but for all of us that love whale watching, who doesn't, right? Free the whales. There've been some cool stories of rescues. There've been Maui. There was a humpback whale that was free. There was 140 feet of line and gear that was tangling up a whale, and on Kauai it was 2,500 feet of cord. So we are freeing the whales, which is kind of cool. Green fees coming, and I'm not talking about golf here, gang. It looks like there is an increasing move that's kind of making its way around the legislature that is going to be increasing green fees, and green as in environment, green as in saving the environment. So I thought I had this story, but so what looks like it's going on is that here we go. So in Maui, so what's going to happen is that, they're looking at kind of a visitor fees. And so they're going to be tacked on, and I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe when you stay at the hotel, or when there's an additional tax on something. They haven't figured it out, but it is making its way through the legislature that they're asking for visitor fees that would fund environmental protection and conservation projects. So be prepared for Hawaii becoming a little bit more expensive. And Oahu, the STVR stands for short-term vacation rental. I want to hear from Scott on that one, but it looks like it's making its way, and there's going to be a 90-day minimum for what counts as a short-term vacation rental. So if it's anything 90 days or less, you're considered short-term vacation rental. If it's over 90 days, it's a longer term. That used to be 30. It's going up to 90. Now, there's an interesting part here I wanted to share with everybody. We talked about this Red Hill fuel spill issue. You may have been tracking this, but one of the things that's particularly interesting is that there is what's going on now is that actually people were thinking that maybe the Red Hill fuel thing was going to people were going to leave the market, or people weren't going to be it was going to, depress housing prices. In fact, the opposite's happening. Housing prices might be going up. And the reason why they might be going up is because that the Red Hill system is going to, right now, they're pumping like something like 5 million gallons of water a day to kind of clean that system out. There was a fuel spill inside the water supply. So they're kind of pumping out 5 million gallons a day. And because of that, they may have to put a moratorium on building new housing because new housing needs water. Don't have the water because we're pumping it out basically we're pumping it down the drain, literally. And so that's going to reduce supply. And everybody who knows economics 101 knows when that demand is the same and supply goes down, the prices go up. So I want to hear from Scott on that one as well. And then, of course, let me zoom in over here. We got perfect weather, except for Saturday's going to be a little bit cloudy. But look at those temperatures, gang. That's the part that blows me away about Hawaii. Look, anywhere on the planet Earth, you're not going to see temperatures that consistent within 1 degree for the whole week, and that's just the way it is. We are lucky to live in Hawaii, and we are living in the Aloha state. Let's go clockwise. Dylan, give us anything, any news, any kind of news, or any real estate market news, anything you'd like to give us an update about on the Big Island.
Yeah, nothing too exciting going on in the Big Island. Just another beautiful day over here. The real estate news is the same. I mean, it's still crazy. Still stuff going on the market and selling for over asking price. There's really no slowdown. It's really sometimes surprising. There's very low inventory, and I just saw a house come on the market across the street from a house that I sold in 2020, and it was for $800,000 more than the one next door sold for. A little bit nicer house, but very surprising. And the guy I sold the house to said, "Hey, maybe we should buy that one, and I could sell my house to my brother." And I said, "Sure, let me know." And he said, "But it's got to come down on price a little bit." And then I see a full price offer come in from one of my agents, that afternoon. So it's not gonna come down on price. So people are buying everything that's out there.
That's an amazing statistic, right? That thing has just not stopped. The train that began with COVID is still running.
And I just came back from Vegas last week at a conference, and all real estate experts are saying, economic experts are saying, this is really a 4-year run. We're in a 4-year run, so it's not really going to slow down. There's nothing really showing that even if interest rates tick up a little bit, which everybody is in agreement is already happening and will continue to happen. Maybe they'll top out at like 4.5%, which is still historically crazy low if you look at it historically. But yeah, there is no end in sight. I heard an interesting concept, right, or interesting perspective is the best deal in the market today is the house you buy today 6 months from now, right? So if you're looking for a deal, just buy anything that's on the market today, because in 6 months it's going to feel like a deal, and then in 20 years it'll feel free, right? But and we've been talking about this, right? This is like the thing that we've been talking about, month after month after month after month. You said just buy now because you're going to feel better about it. A week from now you're going to feel better about it. But everybody who's waiting, you're waiting for prices to be higher.
That's going to be, and that sure sounds like that's the same kind of thing that people say when there's bubbles. And we've talked about why this is not like a bubble, but when people kind of start to talk about those kinds of things, like buy now because it'll be, buy with the anticipation it'll be higher in a few months. That's bubble talk. Although we're not in a bubble, we know that. At least we don't think we are. We don't think we're in the bubble. But
that's held to be true. That's held to be true for the last 24 months.
Yeah, so right. Exactly. I would not bet against it. Here, I would not bet against it. Let's put it that way. I would not sell now thinking that I'm at the top of the market. That is for darn sure. Well, and here's a really another interesting perspective that I heard. Also, it's all about perspective. Is the conventional wisdom is we've been in a seller's market for the last 24, 12 months for sure, 24 months pretty much. But really, it's been a buyer's market, because if you were a buyer in the last 24 months, you've reaped all the benefit. If you sold in the last 24 months, you lost money, you lost equity, right? So the real beneficiaries of the market the last 24 months have been buyers, not necessarily sellers. So in the conventional wisdom, yes, it's a seller's market, but a seller who sold 6 months ago probably lost $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in equity if they had waited, right? So the buyers are the one that have been reaping the benefits. You know what? So we've had a few. If any one of you that are watching right now have bought within the past 2 years, can you kind of give us a comment to confirm or deny what Dylan is saying? Do you feel better that you bought within the past 24 months. If you did pop it in there, we got a couple of comments here before we get to Scott and on Oahu. So Scott, I think Daniel's trying to catch up with you. He's got 20. You said you got like 30 some odd shirts, rinse spooners. He's got 20. So he's making his way up there. We welcome Red Circle Silver X. Aloha, welcome back, and we're glad that you're here. We had a house that went for nearly 1 million over asking. That is amazing. That is crazy. 1 million over asking. That things are nuts. Yeah, indeed. They are nuts. And we have a great friend who's joined us, Joan Valentine. Joan is an Islander alumni Ohana member, the Islander Ohana alumni. And Joan, great to have you back with us. I met Joan in person. It was great. We had a great time. We had this amazing experience. Went to the Makapu'u Lighthouse, and it was so cool. I planned it. It was just right where it was one of these days where it was a full moon, and it was a sunset, and 10 minutes between the sunset, there was a moonrise. So we went to Makapu'u Lighthouse. It was amazing. We saw this incredible sunset going down below Coco Head, and then we turned our heads around 180 degrees, and boom, watched the full moon rise. It was amazing. It was incredible. We got a comment here. Mark Whitehill. Yep, bought in July. Mark, if I'm not mistaken, bought with Scott. Scott helping you. Yep, bought in July, and it's already way up. Excellent. Great to hear that, Mark. I'm so glad that you guys made that move. And JD Reynolds is back. JD, welcome. Aloha. It's Po'alima. What Po'alima means, but I hope I pronounced it correctly. Scott, give us the update on Oahu news, short-term vacation rental comments, anything you want to speak to about Oahu market news, etc.
Yeah, the short-term vacation rental component passed. I'd heard the rumor that at least they adjusted it to 90 days, but I've kind of said my piece on it. The main thing is that if you're in resort zone, Waikiki and the resort zoning components where you can do short-term rentals, you're not affected. It's for residential apartment zoning, anything outside of the resort zoning. So where if you had a condo before or a house in a neighborhood, you could rent it for 30 days at a time. That was the minimum. It's now bumped up to 90 days. So they had over 200 people testify against that bill, and they still passed it. So it is what it is. The interesting thing, we go back to this, and I'd love to hear what Dylan knows. I mean, I'm not even going to touch really on the standard market, other than that we have 387 active homes on the market right now. We started off January right at the beginning in December, which is a slow time, at 395. So we've even lost some. I was hoping we were going to get back into that 450 range at least. So we have very little inventory, but I did a deep dive because I want to change it up. Every status quo on the regular market, nothing's changed. Inventory is really tight, a lot of buyer demand, and prices are going up significantly. So I'm going to give you the luxury market side. 2 to 3 million sales for 2021 versus 2020 are up 162%. In the 3 to 5 million range, number of sales are up 135% from the previous year. Inventory is down 63% in both those categories. Prices per neighborhoods are up 20 to 25%. In the $5 million and up range, sales are up 60% and inventory is down 42%. So across the board, you see it from every price category. Number of sales, everything, prices up and inventory is down. And I looked at the international foreign buyer investment as well. In 2018, Japan sales were 400 million in sales volume. We're at 100 million now. We just hit 100 million. We were at 50 million in 2020. So we bumped up, but we're still nowhere near. So we don't really even have the foreign investor back yet. So that just kind of gives some perspective on a different look at a different portion of the market. Same story.
Dylan, you want to comment on that? Any kind of, I'm sure well, how about the 385 listings on Oahu? That's still a mind blower to me. You're muted.
Yeah, it is mind blowing because on the Big Island we have 417. So literally with 20% of the people, we have more homes listed than all of Oahu. The difference is Oahu.
I just want to stop for a quick to point that out to everybody. So on the Big Island, we have 417 listings. On Oahu, we have 385. Oahu is a population, give or take, of 1 million people. And Dylan, on the Big Island is what, 200,000? How many, what's the population?
Just under 200,000. Yeah.
Okay, so 200,000 versus 1 million. That's just to give you an idea. It's 5 times the density.
The big difference though is if you add in condos, right? There's a lot more condo listings on Oahu than there on the Big. Like we're down to like 60 condo listings on the whole island on the Big Island. So yeah, it's definitely still low. You know, that number is normally, that homes number is normally around 1,000, 1,300, kind of floats in between there, but it's been down below 500 for 12 months. You know, so this is not a new thing. But again, some perspective shifts, right? Is we complain about the lack of inventory, and it's definitely a obvious thing, right? We're definitely low inventory, but if you look at the number of sales, right, and Scott just alluded to this, if you look at the number of sales and we look on the Big Island, you know, normally around 5,000 properties sell every year. Last year, 7,700 properties sold. So there's no lack of inventory. There's plenty of inventory, right? Stuff's coming on the market and stuff is selling. So the inventory is just, the problem with inventory is it's just not staying on the market very long, right? So it feels like there's nothing there. But the reality is there was 50% more properties that sold in 2021 than the previous year, right? So there's plenty of inventory. It's just a matter of, are you out there to scoop it up when it becomes available?
Boy, that's really revealing. I mean, that really tells me, well, here's what it tells me. It tells me that the supply demand price curve has not been hit yet. In other words, people are still, it's still, the property is still, quote, cheap, so to speak, right? It's still, quote, cheap.
And that's why it goes back to no bubble, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Because the demand is there and it's soaking up every bit of supply that comes on the market, no matter what, you know, where it's at, what price it is, it's continuing to get bought up. So
it is continuing to get bought up. Yeah, that is amazing. We have got, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, no, I was going to also say, you know, I looked back at those 2006, 2007 numbers for us on Oahu. We did 12,500 units, that's condos and single family homes for sales. And there was less inventory then, meaning, you know, there's been new subdivisions, new condo high rises that have been built in that time frame. So we would have the potential to have more inventory now. And we hit 11,200 last year on total number of sales. So we're not, from a number of sales side, we're still not back to that 2006, 2007 market. So it is hot, but there's obviously still upward movement to go if we really needed to go on that sales capacity side.
Yeah, that's crazy. We had a couple of comments that have popped in over here. First of all, Tom is back with it. Hey, Tom. Tom is from the UK, if I'm not mistaken. Tom, welcome back. Aloha, everyone. Jan gave us a comment here. Great. And this is I love this, Jan. I purchased a townhouse on the Big Island in February 2021. Townhouses in that same complex are listing now at almost 50% and selling for more. So there you go. So Jan, are you glad you bought? Yeah, let me answer that question for you. Jason's back. Jason is a member of the Islander Ohana. Been away from a while now because I've been swamped at work, but Scott is really rubbing it in with that backdrop and sounds of the ocean. Yeah, you know, here I'll rub it in some more for you. There you go. Yeah, and you got the coconut trees, and except they're not moving, but yeah, you know, so. But I assure you, Jason, it is a real live shot. Jan, to clarify, yeah, Jan, that's fine. You don't have to do that, but glad that you did clarify my statement. A person in the 600s now listing in the 900s. That's pretty amazing, but that's just, you know, not within a year. And Jan is with us. Howdy from the frozen tundra of Princeton, Texas, leaving for a 10-day trip to the Big Island on Sunday. Can't wait to get there. Make sure you look up if you're looking for a property there, Jan, and make sure you reach out to Dylan. Him and his team can help you guys check out what the situation looks like. Does the short term, and Daniel asked, does the short term 90-day mean I cannot rent a home for 30 days now, which was my plan? Basically, yeah, unless if you're in the resort area, it doesn't matter. But if you're outside the resort area, that 30-day is now becoming 90. However, Scott, that's been passed, but I don't think the mayor has signed it. So I don't think it's come into law yet. Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah, I just saw that they had voted on it. So I think it does have to go to his desk first.
Yeah. So Daniel, you know, maybe they'll grandfather you in if you kind of make your reservation now. I would call the people that if you've been talking to anyone who's doing short-term vacation rentals, you want to reach out and call them directly and ask them about what's going on. You may get some kind of a grandfathering, or maybe they'll allow if there's a contract in place or something like that. I don't know what the law is. Don't take my word for it. You need to kind of to look on that. All right, great. Hey guys, is there anything else we want to go on the news before we move on? Anything else you want to report? Big Island, Oahu, anything that kind of stands out? Scott, when you think about that Red Hill thing, the opposite effect of the Red Hill fuel spill, they may be putting a clamp down on building new homes, which again is going to drive the price further up. I don't know if you have anything that you heard on that.
Well, that area doesn't really have a lot of developable land anyway. They're just kind of single individual lots. So I don't really see this having a huge impact. It was interesting, and Brubaker's always talked about this. We typically, because of the restrictions that city and county put on building new construction here, they swung the pendulum so much that we can't even put out enough supply to satisfy the local demand, much less the off-island demand. So we always have this supply-demand imbalance. This just will add to it. It's just not going to have a huge impact because there's not large developable parcels within that sector.
I think based on what we've experienced with COVID and now with this, I think the general rule of thumb is, if in doubt, prices in Hawaii will go up. So do not bet against the Hawaii market. Not a good idea. All right. Let's move on, unless Dylan, you want to jump in with anything, but we're going to move on to our, as Dylan says it, next slide, please. So gang, look, I'm going to give you all a pitch here. If you're not already on the newsletter, if you didn't get an invite, if you came here without getting an invite on the newsletter, it probably means you're not on the newsletter. So get on the newsletter. Go to livinginhawaii.com. You'll have something either pop up or you just scroll down the homepage. There'll be a puka. A puka is a hole, a place, a spot. There'll be a puka for you to put in your email address. Get on the newsletter so you won't miss a thing. We got, videos go out, pictures go out, stories, etc. You want to get on that newsletter. All right. So guys, you know what I was thinking about? And I want to say, oh, there's Heidi. There's Heidi. I was just going to say, I didn't see you on the scroll bar there, Heidi. I don't know how long that you've been waiting patiently. I'm glad you're here. Welcome, Heidi.
Oh, thank you, Peter. I just got on, so entering the show island time. My apologies. There were some technical difficulties, but super excited to be here and good to see everybody. And yeah, just jumping in right now. So I don't know what I missed, but
that's all right. Well, here, I tell you, we missed you, Heidi. And if you missed Heidi, pop it in the comments. Are you glad Heidi's back? Pop in and give us some comments about your welcome Heidi back, everybody. Heidi, well, I guess the question is, before we move on, is there anything on the Maui news? I talked about there was a whale that was freed. That was a whale that was tied up in all kinds of 120 feet of rope or something like that. We freed the whales in Maui. Any Maui news you want to report on, either that or on the real estate market side, and things of that nature, Heidi?
Yeah, I mean, freeing that whale, that was a big success. That was over off the coast of Maui, on Ukumahame, and pretty exciting working together to free a whale. It was tied up in over 100 feet of fishing line. I don't know, maybe Peter went over this before, but the real estate market on Maui, I mean, continues at a rapid pace, with strong buyer demand, no signs of slowing down. We have 179 homes on Maui and 137 condos on Maui currently for sale. So inventory is tight. It's the way it's been for the last 6 months, but we just keep going. And I mean, there's always new things that come to market. I mean, the market just keeps moving. So hang in there. Don't give up.
Heidi, it's kind of funny as you were saying this, I was thinking to myself, we should just have a pre-recorded video that we play each time that says, how's the market, and you guys, we just kind of play the same video again, because it's like it's the exact same thing. Well, Heidi, Jim is glad to see you, Heidi. Yay, Heidi's back. Glad to see you. Heidi's back on the show, and Joan's welcoming you back. And so Jim's happy that you made it. And Juliana, you're my favorite. Aloha, just came back from stand-up paddleboarding in the canal. The beauty of living in Hawaii. That's the old, Juliana, that's like my favorite thing. That's like the make people jealous by telling them what you just did in Hawaii. That's like a total pastime, right? We do that all the time. Instagram photos, et cetera. People are always doing that. It's the old Hawaii envy, the Hawaii envy statement. God bless, Juliana. I hope you had a good time. The canal, are you stand-up paddleboarding in the Aloha Canal? That's That's hazardous. That's a hazardous zone there. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, that's Kailua actually. She's over in Kailua.
The
The
Kailua. Okay, the
and,
Kailua,
and
not the
it's
Aloha Canal.
and it's 10:25 in the morning. She's already taking a break. That's a pretty nice day right there.
10:25. Yeah, yeah, and just another day in paradise, right? Stand up paddleboarding in Kailua. Beautiful, beautiful settings. All right, let's move on. And I'm glad that Heidi's here because I really wanted to. I've got a kind of a fun topic I want us all to chat about and chime in on. So here's the topic I kind of want us to touch on for today, which is Hawaii's racial diversity. So what's interesting about Hawaii is I've always loved Hawaii's racial mix. It's just beautiful. I was enthralled by it the day I landed almost 40 years ago, and so. I kind of wanted to touch base to give everyone else a sense of what this is all is. It's like what Hawaii's racial diversity. How do you see as Hawaii is different? How is it different from either your experiences on the mainland or what we kind of see or hear on the mainland? What makes Hawaii a different racial? Hawaii's got incredible racial integration. What makes Hawaii different? And what is it that you like the most? What is that really kind of sticks out the most that you like about Hawaii's racial diversity? And then finally, why do you think that's the case? Why is it different here? What makes Hawaii? Why is it? What do you think are the underpinnings, the underlying fundamentals that make Hawaii this amazing, racially diverse, kind of beautiful place? So those are the topics. That's the general topic. I kind of want to get your guys' sense on this. Why don't we do this? How about Heidi? I tell you what, Heidi, why don't you warm up a little bit on this? I'm not going to kind of throw you into it right off the bat. So why don't we kind of start with you, Dylan? Why don't you kind of you take a crack at it? What is your sense on this overall topic? What's it different? What do you like the most, and why do you think that's the case here?
I don't know if I'm the most qualified to speak on this because I don't have a lot of, experience other places. I have lived in other places. But for me, it's just a sense of living on an island and the community that creates, right? So if you live in a big city or a place with a lot of people, you could be mean to somebody and maybe never see them again. But when you live on an island in a small town, you don't really have the liberty to do that if you want to last for a long time. And so there's that sense of community where I think, you don't want to burn bridges and you want to make sure that, it's a golden rule, right? You want to treat people how you want to be treated. And there's this sense of collective community. I don't know if it comes from the plantations or just the Hawaiian culture from back in the day, but everybody's responsible for everybody else, right? There's this collective sense of you pick up the trash at the beach, even though if it's not yours. If you see a kid in the street that looks lost, you just take care of them. You just, everybody has a sense of responsibility to everybody else. And, that's something that I think is definitely, I'm not saying it doesn't exist in other places, but it's definitely more universal and stronger here. And like we said in the past, right? If you don't have that, and that's not that's not a racial thing or a cultural thing. It's really just a human thing. And the humans that don't have that don't make it here, right? So it almost is a self weeding out process with the community here. Is if you don't have that, it just, if that doesn't appeal to you, you don't last a long time here.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point that you bring up. I think it's the fundamental part of island living. It's a fundamental part of what you got in a small, tight island community, which is a kind of, no matter how big or small Hawaii may feel, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny place in so many ways. Scott, what's your take on this topic?
Yeah, island living in the tropics in and of itself is going to lend itself to a slower pace, a more relaxed pace, a more, enjoy the weather, enjoy the environment that you're in. But then when it comes to the racial side of it, I haven't been to a place where it's such a cultural melting pot of a number of different races that are all together. And I'll never forget when I moved out here a couple of years later, I went back to Charlotte, North Carolina, and my soccer coach from high school happened to say that Hawaii was one of his favorite places. This was over 20 years ago, because of the number of races living together in harmony, that we don't have a lot of racial tension. And for me, I've always told people, and this is a part of the reason why I'm here, is I feel like it's as close to living in a foreign country as you can get without leaving the U.S. And in doing so, we had so many immigrants from the plantation days and things, and still do, that we have so many different cultural, different cultures that bring their impact here, and they're all embraced in some different way. They're all adopted. So from food to cultural aspects, there's a sense for me of being able to constantly learn and try new foods and try new ways of living in things that I think is an amazing place to be, and that I can't get in most other places. And the people here live in harmony for the most part.
Yeah, it's that harmony certainly from various places. Certainly Honolulu is especially is such a multicultural area. It's got so many kind of different influences. I could definitely see that thing, and the living in harmony is definitely a big piece. Heidi, what's your take? How do you what have you kind of observed? What do you kind of see? What's your favorite? What do you like it? What do you think about it? Why do you think it's the case?
Well, I think how is it different? I mean, that's going to come from a point of reference on where you're from. Um, One of the unique things about Hawaii compared to a lot of other US states is there's no one race or skin color that is just overwhelmingly predominant. Um, on Maui, for example, the census data shows, I mean, about 30% Asian, 30% white, and a little over 30% mixed race and Pacific Islander. So it's it's really a mix of people from different cultures and heritages, and even people who are, are white. There's Portuguese, there's um, Hispanic, white people from California. I mean, it's kind of a mix of people. I recently helped some clients purchase a home here on Maui, and they were raising two young boys who were mixed race, and they were just so happy to move here because they came from a community, a really nice suburb in Oregon, and every other kid in the school was white. And here in Hawaii, they just fit in. I mean, they're just like everybody else. So they were really kind of excited to be able to have that experience for their kids growing up in a place like this.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and I'd like to thanks Heidi for bringing that up. The multicultural, the mixed race stuff is like just a natural here. It's just like it's kind of that's the way it is, right? It's everything is mixed over here, which is like so cool. I want to ask those of you that have recently moved here that are watching. Can you throw some comments on what's your take on this topic? I'd love to hear from you. What have you seen as the experience? What's been your perspective? What do you think is what do you like about it? What's different about it? Like as Heidi said, very correctly spoke Heidi. It's really the how it's different could only be in the context of where you're from, which is why Dylan can't tell us why it's different because he was born and raised here, so he doesn't know how it's different. But you, Heidi, you came from a small town in the Midwest, and Scott, you came from North Carolina. I guess that's considered what southeast, the southeast coast. And so I'd love to hear from all of you, especially those of you who just moved there. Mark Whitehill, throw some comments on here. Joan put it here. Thank you, Joan. I grew up in New York, which is a true melting pot, but here it seems, at least so far from me, I've been lucky to not meet any quote strangers. Everyone is friendly and welcoming. Yeah, I give it to tell you my perspective on this whole thing. I was born in Chicago and came to Hawaii when I was 21 years old. And what really struck me about the melting pot was I thought that Hawaii is much, much, much better integrated culturally, racially than Chicago is, for example. Chicago, like Joan says, like New York, it's a melting pot. There's all kinds of, everyone's there. However, in Chicago, people kind of keep to their respective neighborhoods. There's Chinatown, there's Greektown, there's the Italian district, there's the Black district, there's the Hispanic district, and there's like these little pockets, so you can kind of drive from one little pocket to another. But even though there's a melting pot, it's like if it's a melting pot, not really, because all the ingredients are separate. Whereas when I came to Hawaii, what really struck me, and you could just kind of see it in your neighborhood, is like, you got the Filipino guy with I'm, just rattling off on my own neighbors, a guy, Japanese, Korean, Filipino, Haole, Polynesians, and they're all on the same, we're all in the same block. And this is the case almost universally throughout Hawaii. I love that idea of a true cultural melting pot where people are living side by side. And I think that's an amazing piece. there was, I think the other thing that really kind of struck me, and when I first came here, I never forget the first time was that uh, I was like, couldn't have been here for like more than a couple of weeks, right? And I'm cruising in Waikiki, and I saw a what really struck me was I saw a mixed race couple. It was a Japanese girl and a an African guy, and I saw the two of them. And what was so cool about it was that no one even gave it a second glance. Zero. It was just like, who cares? Like nothing, right? Whereas in certain areas of Chicago at the time, this was in the early '80s, and that you may have gotten at least a couple of second glances, right? It would have been something odd, something out of the ordinary. I think that was the issue as I kind of verbalized this. It in Hawaii, it was nothing. It was not at all. It was like par for the course, totally natural, totally normal. Where in Chicago, it's like, oh, gee, you don't see that too often. So I don't know if what you folks got any sort of comment that you want to add in on that about this topic. Scott, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the part of the question is what do you love about it, or why? For me, part of what I love is the fact that there's so much for me to learn from other people based on their backgrounds. They come from different areas. They bring a different perspective on life, and I love that aspect. And I feel like also that has a reverse to it. If you come here and you aren't open-minded and you aren't respectful of the fact that there is a lot of diversity here and you are closed-minded, it can be very challenging for you as well if you move here and aren't willing to adapt and open up and accept how things are done here. You're muted, Peter.
Thank you, Scott. Ray, thank you, Ray, for putting this out there. Ray says, I spent 6 years with the Army on Oahu years ago. Love the people, culture, and way of life so much. We finally bought a condo when we're in a position to do so. I'm so glad you did. Next week, awesome, Ray, terrific, excellent. Welcome. Good. Glad to hear that. That's what it is, man. And and Dylan, I think to your point, I think there is a big piece of the island culture, and I gotta believe it goes down to to the host culture, the Native Hawaiians that kind of got the whole ball rolling. To live on an island and survive when everything has to be essentially sole sourced, right? You can't import anything because that's all you've got. You've really got to help out. You've got to help each other out, right? And you've got to have this sense of family and community, and you have to look out for each other for your own survival. If not a selfish reason, it's for your own survival. And I think that very thing, and the other part, Dylan, what you said, and this is very true. You made a comment with I love, which is, on the mainland, you could kind of be nasty to somebody and you'll never see him again. It ain't going to matter, And I remember, some nights being with some friends back when I was, young and stupid, and my young friends doing stupid things. I'm thinking, I don't care. I'm not going to see that person again. Not the case in Hawaii. You're probably related and you don't even know it. You're going to see them at the next job interview. Dylan, I don't know if you want to expand on it at all, but that's what been my observation.
No, it's funny because I just had this conversation with my son the other day where I had a brand new agent that's joining the industry who's my classmate, and I hadn't seen her in 20 plus years, really, even before high school, I think. But he asked me, he said, why is she joining with you? And I says, well, because I was nice to her in high school. Like, I don't know. But that's how important it is, and the way you act and the way you treat people is, you never know, 20 years later, you could be in business with them, right? Or you could be doing something with them. And we have that all the time where we run into people that, we haven't seen in decades, but if you were a good person, they remember the person that you were, right? Regardless of all the years that have gone by. And here's just another little example of this like the way we do stuff in the island. So we have 4 guests here from my jiu-jitsu gym for a seminar this weekend. And we had planned to train last night, and long story short, the place we were going to go, which we couldn't because of COVID, yada, yada, yada. So at about noon, we found this out. And so instead we just shifted, and my coach tells me, hey, can we just have dinner at your house so we can at least, feed them dinner and get together with everybody? And I said, of course. So the text messages start flying, and literally between noon and 5 o'clock, we put together dinner for, I think there was probably almost 20 people, 22 people or something like that with the kids and everybody. And we had We had Korean chicken, teriyaki pork, smoked barbecue, like American, like southern barbecue, pork belly, and short ribs, with poke, and I mean, so we had this massive feast, in like 5 hours notice, and they couldn't believe it. They're like, "How do you guys do this?" And it's like, "This is what we do." I mean, just everybody says, "I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that." I got the drinks, I got the tables, and we put off this huge event in like 5 hours notice. So, and the most diverse set of food you could ever eat, right? I mean, amazing spread of diverse food. So
Great story that kind of summarizes the whole thing in kind of one fell swoop, right? It's the racial integration, as symbolized by the food, right? An incredible variety of food, right? All, the island way, which is everybody kind of pitches in. Yes, it's called a potluck, but still, it's everybody kind of pitching in and kind of being at the ramp it all together and doing it at someone's home. Doing it at someone's home. So all that that's a great encapsulation, Dylan, of where Hawaii is at. Juliana comment. Juliana, if you could expand on this, Hawaii was fortunate to not be impacted by the Columbian exchange. I don't know what that means. We're talking coffee, dollar exchange. I'm not too sure. Fill us in on what you mean by that. I'd like to know more about it. And email email says, "You said it perfectly, Scott. Thank you." Joan is chiming in. That's true. Joan's referring to my talk about the pockets in Chicago. Joan says that's true. In New York, there are pockets. Also, here in Hawaii, people are people, and if you can't accept that, don't move here. Well said. That's what it is, man. I mean, it's the coolest thing. Patrick's got a little story for us. Let's see. About a year ago, after I had been tuning into your bi-weekly broadcast for a couple of months, Scott and I talked on the phone one afternoon. Nice. Scott absolutely confirmed the non-racial tension in Hawaii as found in the east coast of the mainland. Patrick, I'm so thankful because so far Hawaii has avoided this whole, identifying by race kind of a deal, right? In Hawaii, it's interesting because we identify, but it's almost in a joking way, right? I mean, it used to be more in style than it is now. It's less in style. There was a great comedian. What's his name, Dylan? The guy the Filipino guy that makes fun of everybody.
Well, there's Augie T and there's Frank DeLima. Frank DeLima
was the classic guy.
Rap Replinger was kind of
Rap Replinger when he was around.
yeah.
Yeah, there was a whole classic, and Frank DeLima is the guy. If you do a Google search, Frank DeLima, and find his videos, he was classic, famous for making fun of everybody. Rap Replinger did. There was another guy too. I forgot his name, but he was almost kind of like borderline. He was like a Don Wrinkles, like a local Don Wrinkles. I forgot his name is already. But it used to be, we used to always make fun of everybody, because like Heidi's point, right? To Heidi's point, everybody.
Mel Kabang.
Thank you. Mel Kabang. That's the guy. Mel Kabang was famous.
And you know who does that?
Yeah.
And you know who does it now is Joe Coy.
Joe Coy?
He kind of does it on a national. If you watch Joe Coy's comedy, it's very because he's Filipino, so he makes fun of Filipinos, but he makes fun of everybody, but it's the same kind of style of comedy.
How do you spell that last name, Coy? K-O-I or
K-O-Y?
K-O-Y. Go look at Joe Coy, everybody. Yeah. So this was a classic thing in Hawaii, and I think part of it was, Heidi, to your point, which you said it quickly, but it's a very profound thing. Everybody in Hawaii is a minority. There is no one's at plus 50%. No one. Everyone's at, like you said, Heidi, we're all at about a third. It's a third Asians, third Polynesians mix, third Caucasians, give or take. And like you said, Heidi, even the Caucasians break up even further because for some reason in Hawaii, a Portuguese guy is not seen as not considered a haole guy. He's considered a Portuguese guy. You don't call a Portuguese guy haole. You call a Portuguese guy or Portuguese, which is interesting. And that's why I kind of, as a Greek, I always felt somewhat privileged. Actually, it's kind of funny. I'll reveal kind of a little personal, not even a story, but something that I knew that Hawaii was the place for me. And the reason why I knew that Hawaii was the place for me, because in Chicago, you're not a Greek, you're an effing Greek in Chicago. But when I came to Hawaii, it was exotic. When I told, when I was at the bar and the girls would ask me, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, I'm from, what's your makeup?" I said, "Oh, I'm Greek." Now in Chicago, like, Greek, But in Hawaii, it was like, "Oh, Greek, wow, cool, exotic, interesting. Haven't seen that before." And that's okay. I know I'm in heaven. I am in heaven when a Greek when a Greek is seen as an exotic being, as opposed to an everyday immigrant that just got here. I knew I had found heaven. That's my little found heaven story. For sure, I knew Hawaii was my place. Bernard, thanks, Bernard. Bernard says, I grew up in the Philippines. My wife is Japanese and I'm Chinese. What place on earth besides Hawaii would allow me to have that community, speak those languages, eat those foods, and mixed lifestyles from those three ethnicities, all in close proximity with such balanced diversity? Boom, man, if I could scream into the mic, I would just like, Bernard, you nailed it right there. I just kind of want to leave that on the show, like leave that on the screen for the rest of the show. That is fabulous. Well put. Exactly correct. And the answer, Bernard, is nowhere but Hawaii. Nowhere but Hawaii can you get that kind of an experience. Well said. Red Circle Silver X, Joe Joy, Netflix Honolulu special was pretty great. There you go. I canceled my Netflix subscription, but when I renew it, I'll get back into it. I realized there's no point having multiple subscriptions if you're only watching one series. So right now, my wife and I are going through a series on HBO Max, and when we get done with it, I'll go back. But excellent, Joy on Netflix. When I renew my Netflix subscription, I will get that. Jason, you're a Greek in I'm a Greek. Yes, that's exactly right, Jason. Well said, buddy. And Joe Coy, sorry, there you go. Thanks for the spelling on that. Excellent. And David, completely not related to the current conversation, but I have to ask what the initials mean after everyone's name. Evcharisto. Wow, put a little Greek in there. Bravo. Bravo repedakimu. The initials are related to their real. Let's just real quick. What they're related because they're realtors of some type. Real fast. What do they mean? I'm not going to tell you. Let's go clockwise. Dylan, then Scott, then Heidi. What do the initials mean? Dylan, you're muted.
Broker in charge.
Broker in charge. Scott?
Realtor associate.
Realtor associate. Heidi?
Realtor broker.
There you go. That's what they all mean. All right.
What's complicated is like every island has a different abbreviations and stuff too, so it can vary. Like like RA on Oahu is RS on the Big Island. It's crazy, but it's just vegetable soup for or alphabet soup for real estate.
It's alphabet. There you go. It's alphabet soup for saying I'm in the real estate business, essentially. And you guys are doing because there's some sort of a legal requirement, right? Whenever you kind of talking about real estate, you have to kind of disclose it or whatnot. So yeah, Daniel, you are welcome, buddy. Hey, speaking of real estate, it's we're coming around the quarter of the hour. Before we move on, everybody, make sure please if you got any questions, make sure you get them in now because we're kind of coming up on the hour. We got a few things left that we want to cover. If you have any questions whatsoever about Hawaii, pop it in over there. Love all the comments as usual. You guys are what make this fun. So let's move on to our next little segment here called Diamonds and Deals. So we've got our friends who put together some great properties that they feature. They're either diamonds or they're deals. Or sometimes they're both. So let's get to the first one here. This is Lower Wai'ehu Beach Road in Wailuku, Maui. Half-acre gated beachfront lot with cottage and 2 water meters. Not one, but 2 water meters for the low price of 1.5. Heidi, let's hear it.
Well, this is direct oceanfront, direct beachfront land, a little over half an acre. There is a small home on the property it's an older home, but it was just completely remodeled in 2020. And you can see the picture of the kitchen in the top right-hand corner. The home itself is 1 bedroom, 1.5 bath, just 748 square feet. But then the picture right below it, you can see the outdoor kitchen, which is probably another 748 square feet. But really the value in this lot is you could live in this cottage and build another home right in front of it, right on the ocean, or do a host of different things. The zoning would allow for it's interim zoning, so you could have an agricultural business, school, medical facility, duplex. I mean, there's just a lot of different things the zoning would allow here. And yeah, I wanted to show the picture of that outdoor kitchen, which is about as large as that cottage. So I thought that was cool.
That's totally cool. We had talked about that previously. That a large part, what makes one of the things that where Hawaii properties are very different, is that you live an outdoor lifestyle, and this includes having an outdoor kitchen. Heidi, I got to tell you, for 1.5, you said this is beachfront. This seems extraordinarily cheap to me. Like this is like really, really, really low price for a beachfront half acre. What's driving? How come this price is so low?
I mean, it's kind of the area it's in, and there were definitely, there are definitely some things to look into. I mean, before you were gonna embark on a building project, but happy to get into the details with anybody who wants to talk about it.
Yeah, it seems amazing. We got real Red Circle Silver X says my wife and I are looking to land on the Big Island Hamakua coast. What kind of inspections or property related issues should we be looking out for? What kind of empty lot checklist should we have? Let's cover that when we get to Dylan's property. Hold on a second. Thank you, Red Silver, for asking that question. Let's see who's next on the thing here. We got let me move it this way. There we go. Palm Villas listed for 465. Is that you, Dylan? Is that you, Dylan?
That's me.
Scott.
Yep.
Palm Villas. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of show an affordable unit. I like this complex, Eva Beach. This is in Eva Beach, is Palm Villas. They have basically two different types of floor plans. I've sold a couple of these in here. The ground level, as you can see, has the larger lanai space. You can have a little bit of grass in there, or you've concreted it all the way. This is an upper floor unit, been renovated, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 716 square feet. And as you can see in the middle picture on the left-hand side, the complex has a pool and kind of barbecue area and stuff. So this is about as affordable on the nicer, relatively newer construction side here on Oahu in kind of the urban stretch area. So if this is pretty much would be kind of your entry level townhouse price point. So I kind of wanted to show this side of things for now.
Scott, this I hope this gives you folks hope. 465 is what the median price of a single family home is about $1 million, but this dare we say this is affordable. So Scott, thanks for bringing that one in. So let's see here. I got a couple of questions up here, but we're going to hold off. Dylan, why don't you, Dylan, give your property first, and then we'll go back to the question that Red Circle Silver gave, and I think I've got your slide as well, Red Silver. So Dylan, what is this for?
This is perfect for Red Silver. This is 6 acres in Kalopaa, which is right kind of near Honokaa on the Hamakua coast. So 6 acres, got this huge house. You have actually a 2-bedroom Ohana disconnected from the house, also backs up to like 100 acres. So you'll never have anything on that side of you. All of the lots in this area are 6 acres or bigger, so you don't have any real neighbors nearby. But yeah, 1.6 million for a compound basically, and very nicely done inside. So if you want country living on the Hamakua coast, this is an outstanding option.
This is insane. This is insane. Red Circle Silver. You don't have to do if I'm not mistaken. So let me kind of flip this real. So, well, first of all, let's talk about this property. Dylan, this is insane. This is insane. I'm looking at 6 acres. I mean, I love seeing the. Thank you all for we don't plan this out, but the contrasts are amazing, right? So what do you want for 1.5? Either you can get like the beachfront property in Maui with the small home on it and the outdoor kitchen, or you can get the 5-bedroom, 5-bath on 6 acres in Hamakua, or you could buy 3 townhomes on Oahu. It's got all for the low price of 1.5. Gang, this is Dylan. The flooring of that kitchen looks amazing. That looks like some sort of a koa floor or whatnot. I don't know if it's koa or not, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's real hardwood wood flooring throughout. Yeah. And back to the question about buying land on the Hamakua coast, you really need to. There's a lot of questions you need to ask, and you really need to be talking to somebody who knows what they're doing, because there's a huge diversity. We've talked about this before with buying land, where the pricing doesn't make any sense, right? You can look at 2 different lots that look very similar but have very different prices, and there's all kinds of things that go into that. Is there infrastructure? Is there water? Is there electric? What's the access like? How buildable is it? Do you need to do a bunch of grading? I mean, there's all of these questions. So when you look at land objectively kind of online and you haven't taken that second level look at the actual details of the lot, there's some things that can very vastly affect market value. And so, yeah, reach out. Let's have a conversation. I can give you a list of things to start thinking about. But really, it's hard to shop for land from afar. You have to be here. You have to go look at it, put your boots on, go walk around it, and really get a feel for what do the views look like potentially if you're going to build. I mean, there's all kinds of things that it makes it really hard to. You can shop for a house, or a condo from the mainland, especially if you're familiar with the areas and the complexes. But with land, it's difficult.
I'm taking a guess. Red Circle Silver X. Let me know if this is the right slide. If you submitted this one in, it's similar. It's from River of Los Angeles. Aloha, we're looking to buy land on the north side of the Big Island. Are we allowed to put a prefab modular house instead of a traditional wood frame construction? Are there any building codes or common code restrictions along the Hamakua coast that may be a barrier to a prefab home? It's not going to be a tiny house on a trailer, but a traditional house, foundation style on building. What do you guys think? There it goes. Red Circle Silver says, haha, not me, but my wife. Okay, I caught it. I got the hint. So Dylan, you basically kind of said, look, there's a lot of things you have to do. You really want to get a hold of a professional. Is there anything you want to comment on specifically here on prefab versus wood home, et cetera, on this topic?
That's a loaded question because there's so much that goes into that too, right? So what you want to do is make sure you get somebody on the ground, architect, building consultant that knows the county code, because at the end of the day, it's what the county is going to approve. You may or may not have CCNRs in a specific neighborhood. Many pieces of land on the Hamakua coast will not have CCNRs, so that's not going to be a barrier. But what you're going to build has to be approved by the county, right? And until you ask the county, hey, this is what I'm going to build, is it okay? You don't really know. I can't tell you for sure. There's lots of different types of prefab homes, right? And is it up to code? Where did it come from? What kind of materials is it? Those are all the kind of things that the county building department is going to have to review and approve before you'll know for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. So Red Circle, in the comments, in the description of the show, you're coming on YouTube. There's a link. Click on the link. It'll take you to a form. Love to hear from you. Love to help. Go ahead.
The little piece I always inject to this, right, is when people have a great idea that's going to be super cheap, they think they're the first one that had it and nobody's doing it yet. And you're probably not the first one. And there's probably a reason why people aren't doing it.
There's a reason why people aren't doing it. Like the tiny homes question that we get a million times, right? We get a million tiny homes questions, right? And
yes.
it's always the same.
And we've gone through how complicated tiny homes are and that whole thing. So,
and you're not going to save a darn thing with a tiny home. Scott, we got one for you here from American Asian couple. How do we remedy the issues living in condo when resident manager does not do their job properly? Who is the higher level we need to get in touch with in Waikiki? Scott, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, well, the resident manager works for the board for the association. You, if you're an owner, are a member of the association. So I'd go to the board first. Then you can go to the property management company as well, who helps out, because they're going to have to. You're going to want to document some of these things and do it via email. And if you do it with the property management company, then they'll document it as well. But the resident manager works for the association, so that's the above step for you. It's going to the board.
Go to the board. I was once a board member, actually board president of a condo association, and when people would come to us, we would take their request seriously. It's not that it's a tiny community; it's a little condo. Go to the board, find out who the president is. Go to the board president. Don't mess around. Go right to the board president. Say, hey, da 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 da, and show up at a couple board meetings. Usually, those board meetings you can attend them. You can't participate because you're not a board member, but you can participate. Gil, welcome back, Gil. Gil A says, I read an article that there are 31 million more millennials now buying homes. With that said, what does the data show as the types of new home buyers in Hawaii? I don't know if you guys have any data on that. Do you guys have any feedback on that? Or who's buying the homes? Is it millennials? Is it any sense? Just empirical?
D, all of the above. I mean, you got people moving, transitioning here from the mainland, and it is an expensive place. If you're coming here from out of state, to buy a single family home, you got to have some decent disposable income. And because rates were low and things started moving, we get plenty, the younger people are moving into the house buying or townhouse buying or condo buying typically is the first step over here and moving their way up. But yeah, it's everybody. That's why we got so many buyers and so little inventory.
That's what's snatching it up. Anybody else want to comment? Just kind of jump in and kind of say that we're gonna move on because we're almost out of time here. Let's see. Patrick gave us a nice comment. Thanks, Patrick. Mahalo, guys, and Heidi. Another great program. Look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks. Look forward to seeing you too, buddy. And Alex, welcome back, buddy. Sorry for getting in late. Yeah, nothing to be sorry about, Alex. Nothing to be sorry about. All right, let's go to our. We're going to roll this up over here and go to our closing. Let's pop up our closing thought slides. Let's kind of hit this one here. This has got to be Dylan. Go ahead, Dylan. Start us off with it.
That's not me.
Who is this one? Okay. Who?
That was me.
Good, Heidi. Go for it. Go for it, Heidi. Let's hear it.
If you always do what you've always done. Well, where's the quote?
Oh, hold on. I thought you had it memorized. Go ahead.
You'll always be where you've always been. Thank you, Peter.
Try one more time. Let's do a retake on. Go ahead, Heidi.
If
One
you
more time.
always do what you've always done, you'll always be where you've always been. I mean, so very simple and obvious, but just a reminder. I mean, for myself or for anyone, if you want to accomplish something different or get to that next level, I mean, you can't do what you've done in the past to get to where you are now. You have to do something different. So I found that inspiring.
Thank you, Heidi. You got it. You got to shake it up. You got to shake it up. Who's got the Tim Grover quote?
That one is me. So Tim Grover was the keynote at the conference I was at, and if you don't know who he is, he was like the strength and conditioning coach for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. I mean, the greatest basketball players in the last, in our generation. And so one of the things he talked about was the greatest winners have the shortest memories. And in the context of, if you're going to be a great winner, you cannot dwell on your losses, and you definitely can't dwell on your wins, right? So they forget quickly and they move beyond missing a shot and just look towards the next one. Or once you win a championship, you got to focus on the next championship. And I definitely think that's applicable in our world and our business. And, especially in this market right now, if you're looking to buy, right? If you dwell on the offer you missed out on, and you're not focused on the next offer or the next house, or continuing to look and continue to have that positive mindset, you're never going to accomplish your goal. So have a short memory.
Well said. It's AKA live in the moment. Live in the moment. Live in the moment. Joan says, sorry, I miss you in 2 weeks. I'll be in the city of Hope in California for my annual checkup. Well, we will have a seat here for you. We will have a seat here for you, Joan, and we will welcome you back with open arms. And Alex as well said. Scott, what's your closing motivational thought for today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a systems guy and a planning and data kind of guy, but I read one that was pretty good. It said you don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need to breathe, trust, let go, and see what happens. And it's kind of piggybacks off of what Heidi was saying. Just get out there and do it. Sometimes it's the best way.
Breathe. What's that? Breathe, trust, and what?
Let go and see what happens.
Breathe, trust, let go, and see let's see what happens. Yeah. Mark got a phone call halfway through. Yeah, Mark, we will see you all later. And so I'll give you mine. So mine's kind of an interesting one. So I as you all know, I love reading Proverbs, and there's this great Proverbs section that talks about animals and talks about how amazing ants are, that they could provide for themselves, yet they're super tiny, or a locust kind of line up in line. And then it said, the lizard can be grasped in the hand, yet it is found in kings' palaces. Now, this is not so much a motivational thought, but this is to tell you that 4,000 years ago, geckos were in the freaking palace. So geckos are everywhere. They've been everywhere. They're going to be in your house in Hawaii. They're all over the place. You can't get rid of them. And they were around 4,000 years ago in king's palaces. So if you're going to live in Hawaii, you're going to have geckos. I think that's my closing motivational thought. All right, everybody. So we're gonna roll this out, and Ray's going to be at Duke's next Friday night. Ray, I was going to say, throw a party there, Ray. We'll and let us know. And JD Reynolds says, breathe through the nose. Yes, indeed. All right, folks, throw us your goodbyes. Let's go counterclockwise. Heidi, then Scott, and then Dylan. Say goodbye, everybody.
Aloha, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Aloha, everybody.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, folks. See you in a couple of weeks. Jim, see you in a couple of weeks. Everyone, y'all take care. Aloha.